Welcome to online join class in research project. This is the second session. So in today's session, we have Ibu Lira Anindita Utami and Dr. Sahrul Nizam for our speakers today. So before we start, I'm going to remind all of you the rules of this class. So first of all, in the first session, we are going to have a presentation session from both our speakers and then continue to Q&A session. And on the last session, we are going to have a photo session. So during the presentation, kindly turn off your microphone and turn on your camera. If you have a question during the presentation, kindly save the question for the Q&A session. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Sahrul Nizam to present the presentation. So Dr. Sahrul Nizam, the time is yours.
Well, it's actually my session today.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay,
It's
Ibu
fine.
Lira, so you can start.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to share my screen. Can anybody hear my voice? Is it clear enough?
Yep.
All right. Okay, as we discussed from last sessions, I'm going to just like present one kind of like research project.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so all right, everybody can see it clearly now. Is it on screen? Is it on screen? Okay, all right, thank you. So this is actually one of my research, not one of my research that I conducted during my dissertation. At that time, we conducted in teams. So we have a lot of teams ranging for a lot of analysis, a lot of research. But this is becoming my dissertation. So I'm just going to present a study case within study cases, within a bit larger study cases. So the theme would be like to research about cultural characteristic of a traditional communities. And this is a traditional communities that we met back in Bali. So in Tenganan Pageringsingan, Indonesia, we have seen a lot of things there. And during our ethnographic activities, we saw quite a lot of issues. And then we sort of meeting with many people from there. And then it is decided that we need to understand the cultural properties of the traditional communities, their artifacts, their production, and then how all of that can actually become tools for conservation or a succession of local wisdom. So probably, I think most of us quite know. Of course, we in Malaysia we also have similar culture about textile, and then the people and the textile. I'm just going to share a brief kind of like thought about this. That we know that traditional textiles are not produced only for clothing, but they are also served as tools for preserving traditional knowledge, such as communicating life values, belief system, social positions. Even textile can be tools to record events or capturing moments in stylized shapes and forms. And as we can see, textiles are everywhere around the world. It is one of a prominent culture, prominent tradition of human settlement, and it has lots of variation. Here, for example, we saw a lot of variation in Indonesian region, ranging from batik and then also woven textile such as ikat. And in Indonesia, not only batik, but we have several kind of ikat. Ikat is a type of textile that is woven. Technically, it is woven, but it is also tied. The thread are tied to produce patterns, motifs. And then we have different kinds of ikats in the eastern side, and then different kind of batiks in the western side of Indonesia. And our research location is actually in Bali Island. So in Bali, there is a specific community, traditional community that produce one type of textile, ikat textile to be exact. It is called double ikat. And it is very intricate. But the village or the community that we encountered in Bali, it is relatively small. The population is approximately only 230 individuals. It is a very, very small village. And then there is this kind of like ethnic group. So really, really old kind of ethnic community, even in Bali. Because we know Bali Island in Indonesia, they are Hindu community, but this specific ethnic group is actually older than Hindu community. So it is very old. And then this is the village and nature. Like as you may see that it has beautiful sceneries. It is surrounded by quite lush nature and also lush forests. And then we can also see that they are surrounded by mountains in the north, and then in the south, it goes straight to the sea. So the village itself, it is pretty old because it is the first ethnic group in the island, recorded in the island. So a lot of research has estimated that it is more than 2,000 years old. It is just an approximate value of it, but it is still very old, 200 years old. And then the people here, they still abide by traditional rule, by a type of certain law when it comes to utilizing resources from the forest. So they are very strict, so very strict community. They have very strict ways of using resources, and they have very strict way of protecting their islands, their nature, and their village, also their community. And then I'm talking a little bit about their village settlement so that you can grasp the outline of what is the village look like. So we know that it is a very old community, but they created a kind of like arrangement. So the arrangement that we can see, it is a little bit mandalic, and it is actually related to their old belief system. And then please excuse me, Dr. Nizam. Is Mr. Sena is here? Mr. Sena?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, if you are here, is it okay if you can handle the people who come into the Zoom? Just
Yeah.
because it pops up in my windows.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, don't worry.
Sorry.
Oh, because
Okay.
I didn't see those who came in.
Yeah, it just like it pops up constantly. Anyway, so yeah, this is the village settlement, and it has a relation to their belief system, to their kind of like cosmic symbol. They have this kind of like mindset or somehow specific belief system, how they arrange their settlement, how they arrange their kind of like how can I say it in a very, very easy way. How to live. So they have a code to how to live their lives, and it is related to their kind of like belief system, and then their belief system has a symbol. The symbol is called tapak dara. So it is like a cross, like similar to like a mandala. So they constructed their village into this type of mandalic arrangement. So it is an overview of how their village look like. And then in the right-hand side, we can see there are a lots of temples inside it. I said that before Hindu came here, they have their own specific spirituality. And then this is the oldest spirituality before Hindu came. But then when Hindu came, they constructed more temples and buildings associated to worship. And then all of the all of the temples, all of the worshiping spaces are all over the place in the village. And the type of the community. So in the research, it is very important for us to at first identify what type of community they are, because we want to understand why there are cultural properties that are matter to the community. Why do all of this matter to the people? And why do they create a very, very difficult artifact, a very, very difficult, intricate textile? We want to understand that. And then, so we identified the community is a type of religious community. They have a lot of religious activities every year. So there are religious activities annually that they kind of like conduct every month, every 5 months, every semester, every year, or every 2 years, every 5 years, even every 50 years. So these are the type of religious community that all of the aspects in their lives are centered towards worshiping. And when they do the ritual activity, they usually use specific items. They usually use specific tools. They create things. They create offerings. And so that's why textile are one of the tools that are very, very important, very significant for their ritual life. And then we can also see that there are also a kind of philosophy that is discovered in this community. And then this kind of like philosophy actually governs how they interact. So the people in Tenganan, they interact with themselves. They interact socially, they interact ecologically, and then they interact spiritually. How they interact with all of those aspects are governed by this specific philosophy. It is called Trihita Karana. So it concerns about achieving the harmony through maintaining the triangular relationship of God-human nature. And then how they do that is through performing a lot of rituals. So by performing rituals, they kind of like manifesting the philosophy. And then like I said, in the rituals, there are specific type of textiles that they always use. And the type of textile is called gringsing. So gringsing here in the right side, in the lower right side, is a type of cloth that is used in specific rituals. And it is created, handmade. It is created through a very long production process, usually years. It will take years to make. And then the production and the use of ginseng itself is considered a very unique tradition among other types of textiles, because this is the one and only textile that is created in very, very specific ways, and then they have specific stories, narratives inside. And then after that, we need to explore how does the textile kind of like fit into the ritual life of the the community. And then here we saw that ginseng is used in almost every occasion. And one of the really big occasion is the rituals of the 5th month, both as costumes and also as offerings. And then our research background, my research background, the thing that we found there, the main issue is actually like lies in the production values of ginseng that are threatened with the mass production. And because ginseng itself is prominent, is a type of prominent textile within the community, ginseng is also a commodity to outside community, to the Balinese community as a whole. And before, the production of ginseng used to be in small batch. It is not mass produced, but because of the demand from the outside and because of the demand of the people from outside the village, they start to mass produce. And when they mass produce, they tend to kind of like go all out of the traditional process. And then from that, the meaning is kind of like lost. And then because of the loss of the meaning, this is a gradual process, a generational process of losing the meaning in ginseng. And then when they lose the meaning, they trigger a kind of like cultural appropriation, and that upsets the senior community, the elder ones. And with that, continuing textile production, then the elder community of the village feel the need to re-recognize the cultural narrative preserved in the production and in the patterns of ginseng. So here lies the visual thematic analysis of ginseng, which is actually one case study to kind of like re-recognizing and recording the cultural properties of textile. So in this research, we conducted 2 types of analysis. One is the making culture analysis, and the other one is the visual thematic analysis. But what I am going to present here is only the visual thematic analysis. And then the whole research is actually aimed to restore the cultural narratives based on traditional culture and local wisdom. We saw before that they have quite a lot of local wisdom. They have specific belief system. They have specific spirituality. They have specific activities that are quite unique, even in the whole Indonesian community. So these are the things that we can identify as aspects, as cultural properties, cultural aspect that can become the identity of the village. And then next thing is that to counter the mass production. To counter the mass production, they need to understand why do they make this textile again? Why do they need to make this textile? And why making this textile is kind of like related to how they can preserve the nature, how they can know their surrounding, how they can understand themselves as a society. And here I also conduct previous research to see the characteristic of previous research, and then to see that where the previous researcher, what kind of like interest do they have for this for this traditional community. And then because one of the larger aim is to see that, to record the cultural properties so that we can create a kind of like tool to conserve the cultural identity so that the next generation can understand, and then they can kind of like see where they can go and where they cannot go. So previous research from this themes, for example, about textile as tools to communicate or promote cultural identity. There are several researchers that invested on textiles as sign vehicles, meaning that textile can be used to contain stories, to contain narratives, to contain cultural symbolism and communal values. And then we can also see that traditional textile products express values of certain time to certain society. This is particularly significant because what we see later, what we see with Green is that they tend to have a specific development in certain time. And then another one that is quite interesting for me at that time is the possible use of pattern analysis for studying cultural properties and to study the social characteristic itself. And then the potential of textile to become records of significant relationship, events, and stories. All of this research can be done by visual thematic analysis. So that's what I am going to focus on, what I was focusing on in this research project. So why do I use the visual thematic analysis? Is because the motif design of textile, they could contain themes, they could contain narrative, and then from there we can actually study what are those themes and how those themes can relate to their ways of life, to be specific, to their identity, to their sort of branding in a way. And then what we did, the visual culture, we did mainly ethnographic, involving several field research combined with interviews and participant observation, as well as video journals, questionnaires, and literature research. So as you can see that this is quite a participatory research. So I'm not doing this by myself, but we conducted this research gradually in parts, and each parts there are specific aims. And for example, when we did ethnographic, we have to understand like how long do we need to spend in that community? What kind of things do we want to study? And how can we study it? And the first research included first observation, first initial exploration, making of video journals, interview, printing photo shoots, recording production process, literature research. All of those stuff are conducted around a month, one full month to do the ethnographic research. And then after that, there were second, third, fourth, fifth, until we felt that, okay, this is all of that we need to get are collected. And then after that, the first exploration is to collect the patterns, obviously, before analyzing it further, we need to understand what are the patterns of grazing and how do they look like. And so we conducted initial exploration on the 26-old pattern design of grazing and the surface design element, such as layout patterns, ornamental patterns. These can be considered as the elements whose function is similar to translating cultural symbols into visualized objects. Why? Because they have occurring patterns, they have occurring motifs, they have unique motif that tells something specific. And how do we conduct this exploration is that first we need to collect samples of all the pattern design. By collecting samples, meaning that when we did ethnographic, we went from one house to other house, and then we covered around 150 houses that host different kinds of grazing. That kind of like they have a lot of grazing, and from there we sort of identified how many pattern design of grazing that they stored. And from those discoveries, we covered around 350 textiles. And from 350 textiles, we discovered 25 types, 25 pattern types. And then these 25 grazing, 25 pattern design of grazing, they have specific names. So each name is different. They have, for example, geringsing wayang, geringsing teteladan, geringsing wayang kebo, geringsing lubeng. They have different names. And then apart from the specific names, they have hue. So the first exploration is to classify, to get a classification. Here we got two types of classification, three classification actually, that there is reddish hued geringsing, and then there is dark hued geringsing, and the other one is a unique type of geringsing called edupana that is not created by double ikat technique, but by single ikat technique. And this first exploration is a means to understand first the life and the culture. It is the initial process and the source of inspiration for making the textile. And then from there, from the patterns, we sort of listed the name, signature, and its meaning. It is very, very important step that we conducted, is to understand ways of calling the textile, because the ways of calling the textile can relate to what kind of specific meaning is there, and how do people relate this meaning to, for example, their life, the belief system, the daily life, and things like that. So we get all of this 35 name, signature, and meaning. Each has a very, very specific meaning, such as like a princess, divine princess, rooster's footprints, ijakan siap, or patola, or papare, or sitan pagat, never to be cut. So there are these names alone already directed into a very, very specific topic. And we wanted to understand why do they have different names for different patterns. And then there is a kind of like historical development. I'm sorry that this is in Japanese, but the thing is that what we discovered is geringsing tend to be developed in a certain time, certain event. So there are So it first began in 13th century, and then from there it moves to the 14th century. They created another type of greasing. So from the 13th century, we found out the old patterns of greasing are created mostly in this era. And the later type of greasing, which is the dark hued greasing, are discovered in the later era, are developed in the later era. And then this is a significant process that we need to also understand, because we wanted to see what kind of like historical value do they have, and why this object became very specific and became very significant to the people. And then from there, we moved on to the visual morphological analysis. We studied the color and the raw materials that created the textile. And then we recorded that all of the textile are created using natural resources. So this textile is banned from using chemicals whatsoever. So they need to be produced in a very, very in a natural way with specific colors, natural colors. And then each color, they have specific meaning. And then this meaning related to their ritual life. So for example, like the meaning, they are created in 3 different colors, which is yellow, red, and blue. And each color is related to birth. For example, yellow is to birth, red is to life, and then the blue, which is dark blue, almost black blue, is related to death. And each of this kind of like symbolism also relates to realms. So this is another thing that they have, is that they divided their realm of life into this 3 kind of realms: the realms of nature, the realms of human, and the realms of the god. And then we moved on to how do they arrange their pattern. We need to understand this because we want to know which is the narrative, which is the pattern that contains narrative, which is the pattern that contains specific motifs, specific patterns that translate their stories. So the Gringsing, all of Gringsing, they are arranged in this mainly they are arranged in this type of layout. So the central layout is the narrative layout, the way the 2-dimensional layout, where it contains narrative, where it contains storytelling. And then the rest is the head patterns, and these are also significant for their ritual meaning. And then from there, we saw that they are being produced in specific sizes. And then each size also has different names. So this is very interesting because with traditional communities, they tend to have specific names for everything. Like for small, for medium, for size, they're not saying that as SM or large, like small size, medium, or large, but they call in different names. And these different names actually relates to the production process, which is not actually covered in this session. And then from there, the analysis moved on to classify patterns. So from here, we collected two types of patterns, 2 classes of patterns. The first class of patterns is the specialized pattern designs. Why is it special? Why is it called specialized pattern designs? Because in these pattern designs, there is a specific pattern called village identity. So the specific patterns, it is created in the center, and then it is characterized by having 4 pointed star motifs. And then these type of patterns, they usually use in a big occasions, big rituals, festive occasions. So there are 8 patterns within the 25 that we identified as specialized. And then after that, the next class of pattern is the non-specialized pattern design. The 17 are mostly red hued with various motifs. These motifs are actually developed from an Indian textile, which the name is patola. But the Tenganan Pageringsingan, the community of Tenganan Pageringsingan, they kind of like they adopted 1, 2, 3 pattern designs from the Indian patola, and then they develop the textile for themselves. They develop the names, they develop how they will look like, and then they created kind of like ritual relation to it. And then here are the theoretical foundation for visual thematic analysis that we run through. So the visual thematic analysis is actually the symmetry analysis for analyzing the pattern. The tool is to identify how a pattern composition is structured and how it may relate to cultural aesthetics and socio-cultural processes. What we mean by cultural aesthetic is not only like the visual aesthetics, but the aesthetic of the whole, experiential type of aesthetic, and also the socio-cultural purposes. And the analytical tool applies symmetry analysis to classify arrangements of repeating motifs occurred in a pattern design. This one that is really interesting for us is that it is originally created for the purpose of studying natural development of crystal structure. But then there were several researchers that took the foundation, that took the conceptual framework of symmetry analysis to study the repeating patterns of textiles. And then they kind of like created a visual thematic design analysis for textile patterns. And for them, the hypothesis is that the symmetrical arrangement creates visual characteristic that may relate to a consistency of kind of social representation or semiotic representation of how do the people understand their surrounding and their life, ways of life. And this arrangement could communicate cultural properties such as qualities associated with gender preferences, qualities associated to symbolization, to ideology, to concept. And then the structural consistency of symmetry is used to build classification of pattern design, which is then used to identify the communicative properties. So visual communication, the textile has visual communication design, and they are patterns. And then from there, we created the tool, the instrument to code for the symmetry of Geringsing. So we kind of like, we followed the basic symmetry guideline, and also we followed basic symmetry code to kind of like identify to what kind of symmetry this belongs to, and how do the symmetry interprets. So for the purpose of this study, the term of motif is used to refer to basic units that possess a clear image, and the arrangement of motifs is called patterned. And then we followed the motions of the symmetry, which is in translation, reflection, glide reflection, and then rotation, such as that. And these construction of patterns may exhibit motifs with both vertical and horizontal reflection. And after that, we can see whether or not this type of symmetry may relate to a representation or a symbolic representation, and what kind of motifs that construct the symmetry. And then from there, we conducted visual thematic analysis. The way we conducted this analysis is on site. So what we did is that we printed the copy of the textile, and then people are actually involved in this visual thematic analysis or the symmetry analysis. So two experts, another experts, they kind of like they have a senior knowledge to symmetrical arrangement of textile. And then 3 people, they are coming from the artisans. They came from the artisans. And then of course I was there. And then all of us, we conducted a kind of like participatory analysis. And then from there, we kind of like identified the classes of symmetry, the related in relation to the pattern design, and what kind of symmetry yield what kind of characteristic, and then from there what kind of thematic analysis, and then from there what kind of cultural context when we relate that to, for example, gender preferences and usage. And then from analyzing the construction of pattern, we discovered several symmetry types. So these several symmetry types persist in patterns, and then they kind of like they yield a specific theme and motif positioning. Like, for example, the first symmetrical order, it is a pronounced impression of stability and balance expressed in classical cross-like reflection. So first symmetrical order relates to all specialized pattern design. And then all specialized pattern design encompass the expression of communal identity, belief system, and local spiritual symbol. And then specialized pattern design, they need to be stable, they need to be balanced, because it is the identity of the community. And then we discovered second symmetrical order and the third symmetrical order. And then from this order, we conducted a deeper thematic analysis that relate to how the people call the textile, how do the title of the textile or the name the textile. So from the symmetrical elements and what ideas, what local wisdom do they represented. So in the non-specialized design patterns, we further discovered thematic themes that relate to religious activities, natural occurrences, environmental interaction, and relation to the rituals. And then from the specialized pattern design, we discovered themes relate to the legend of the cosmos, for example, and then to the belief system, to the religion, and also to specific social interaction and relationships that are advocated in the community life. And then from there, we mapped the meaning, their meaning related to the local philosophy. So local philosophy is that triangular Trihitakarana philosophy. So why do we map this? Because we see that there are there is a deep sense of important that this textile is to be integrated into manifesting the philosophy of Trihitakarana. So textile that is presenting the stories of the cosmos relates to the interaction with the divine. Textile that express the environmental interaction relates to how people kind of like interact with their surrounding, how the people kind of like finding source of interaction from the nature, and also like expressing social foundation interaction. They express the meaning of the another interaction, which is human to human interaction. And then from there, we got further visual usage analysis based on gender. So we discovered that grazing used to have gender-specific patterns. These are the patterns that are used by females, by women, and these are the patterns that are used by the men of the community. So, but today everybody can use any pattern they might like. And then from this analysis, we also study the design preference of the whole community. And then there are specific patterns that are more sort of beloved to the whole community. So these are for patterns preferred by most of the people. And then we conducted here to the girls and also the artisans and also to the whole senior elderly community of Tenganan Pageringsingan. And from here, we saw that there are specific themes that are beloved by the community in terms of producing textile, which is they like textile that are kind of like expressing the story of the cosmos, for example, or they like floral motifs. They like to be reminded to the nature, for example. And then in terms of social relations, they like to be reminded of their relationship with one another. And then specifically in this Wayang Kebo and Talidandan, they have specific meaning to kind of like teach how people interact with one another. And then from here, the next one is to kind of like see the example of what kind of interpretation that we could get from studying through visual thematic analysis. So from here, we went further to analyze the stances of wayang figures, and then how does this can relate to the specific social interaction that the community have with one another. So here, for example, in the study, there's the anthropomorphic figure of wayang, of a shadow puppet, but the way they interpret this is that this is a textile to kind of like teach young people how to honor their elderlies. So this is how they interpret, and this is what we could relate with, for example, analyzing the figure, analyzing the stances. And then on the right side is that they have specific meaning, and then this interlocking sense that is shown by the textile, they see it as a thread, and then they kind of like interpret this textile as tali dandan, which is like a thread to guide, that expresses the responsibility of the elders to guide the young generation. But this tali dandan, it is a type of textile that is used in a ritual, and then usually main ritual is in the marriage ritual, in the marriage and life and rituals of life. And then from here we get the research conclusion, how kind of like grazing is a tool that connects, how grazing patterns actually kind of like becoming a tool to express traditional knowledge. And then from here, we could conclude that the Gringsing, the textile itself, is the embodiment of philosophy, of the local philosophy of Trihita Karana. And then Gringsing itself becomes an identity for the community. So after this, the next stage of the research is how do we restore the narratives? So what kind of narratives that will conserve the cultural identity and tradition? And after that, the next one is that we created was design proposal for the community, which is how can we use Gringsing as promotions, as tools for conservation and succession of local wisdom. And promotion as tools, it has to accommodate these three things that they need. So another things that they need is the restoration of old patterns, and then the process of re-recognition of the local wisdom. And then another thing that they need is the participation of youth in the production process. And then before they see the mass production, and then they understood that if we produce the textile, we need to we need to follow the kind of like traditional stages that created all of this textiles. And then because of mass production, that's all of this balance is kind of like destroyed, so they need to get back. But in order to get back, they need to involve the participation of youth again to kind of like becoming the guide, what is it called, the protector of traditional knowledge. So that is what I can share for today's session. Thank you for listening, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lira, for the lengthy, detailed,
Very lengthy, sorry.
but it's detailed. It's very good. It's very good because you go step by step from the beginning of identifying the significance of the research and how do you identify the population, how do you identify the scope, and then you go on continuing with the narrative. Okay, I would like, it's very interesting where you highlighted two important aspects of the research, which is the narrative and semiotics. Okay, because in visuals, most of the time, I'm not sure, but based on my experience with my students over here, they lack in focus towards narrative. Okay, so translating the narrative, I already told them, you have to find out what's the meaning of narrative. What does narrative actually means? It's like a storytelling, but it's in a more detailed manner. So for fine art students, they don't have much problem dealing with narratives because they've been dealing with it for their context of artwork. But for graphic design students, they might have a slight knowledge about narrative, but in depth is not so much. Right? So the narrative is very important because you are going to translate the meaning of the visuals. Okay, so for visual communication, translating the meaning of the visual is very important, and to ensure that the visual communicates what needs to be communicated is also important. So the putting in the translation of narrative and also the semiotics analysis. Okay, so a few things to be highlighted, which is, of course, we need to understand, the beginning to the end of the process. where you have most of researchers. I think most of us we have data, we have samples, but how do we make how do we make the meaning from our from our analysis and findings? Because like yours is also qualitative method, right?
Yes.
So qualitative methods are always highlight to the students where we need to have a certain level of knowledge towards the subject matter that we want to study, in order for us, because we build up the meaning. You were using thematic analysis. So how do we develop the themes? And how do we come up with the themes? So we have to identify, so we have to know how to categorize the data that we want to analyze, because before we analyze, we have to put them in, we have to categorize the data, we have to categorize the samples, like yours, if we don't know, then who and where do we refer? I think this is very good because they are now in the mid of, most of them are doing visual analysis, visual content analysis. So this will give them some ideas, because most of them straight away go into conclusion. They don't categorize,
Yeah.
and they don't analyze. So they say, okay, so I already have this is that. How do you came to this? And then we say, I just categorize, I just analyze them. But because research, there's a stages and processes. Like for yours, of course, it's for a PhD studies. Is it for your PhD studies, right?
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
I
It
think
is
the
like
one
project from the whole design proposal projects.
I think the one that I shared is also from my PhD studies. So for PhD studies, of course, the amount of work is quite big, but they will have an understanding on the narrative and semiotics. So we cannot run away from semiotics, because semiotics is about, communicating
Science, yeah,
the
communicative
science,
agency, yeah.
science, and giving the meaning, the
Mhm.
signifier. So with that, I can open the session to
Yes.
if you have any question. But before that, okay, I have one question. Like, do you when you develop the theme and categorize, do you already have the knowledge on the themes, meanings of the patterns, or you need to refer?
I need to refer actually. So for example, like the first stages in symmetry analysis is that after we sort of group, like there are groups in what kind of symmetry, and then from this grouping of symmetry we study the themes further relate to names, for example, and to smaller motifs. And then this is I can say that this is iterative process, because we need to get validation from lots of people.
Yes.
So for example, like this symmetry would hold meaning to this type of theme, for example, to the theme of social interaction, to the theme of nature, for example, to the theme of protecting the nature, for example. We need to get validation from many people, and many people here, I mean, they were not only like textile experts, but they were people in the village, because the themes need to be familiar for them. Like all of the things that we did is that we wanted to give back to the community. So first, all of the themes had to come from them. So they decided, oh yes, the textile is actually talking about this theme. So there are overlapping themes, but with if we relate it to, for example, names And in the study, we related further to ritual aspect, to production process aspect. And then that is the holistic way for me to get the correct themes for each textile.
Great, great.
So
Okay.
yeah, it is a lengthy process.
Yes, it is a lengthy process
It
because
is a lengthy
yeah,
process.
because visual content design,
Mhm.
visual content design, be it whatever analysis that we are doing, it has to go through few stages. We
Yes.
can't just straight away analyze, unless if not, we will be, and we will analyze until we paralyze.
I think I understood that reference because I did that too. We analyze until we paralyze. Yeah.
Yes. So we need
I
to
got
have
a brain freeze after that as well.
Yes, true. Okay, so I think most of the students who are, doing analysis on patterns, on visuals, they should have a few questions to ask.
Yes, please. If you have any question.
Robbie? I saw Robbie here.
Oh, is this I am Robbie?
Robbie, are you there?
Halo, Sir.
Okay, Robbie is actually an exchange student from which university, Robbie?
University Aisyah Yogyakarta.
So he's here with us in UiTM. You have any question? You have anything to ask, Dr. Lira?
So Robbie is in Yogyakarta?
He's he's in UiTM, exchange student from Jogja.
Exchange student from Yogyakarta.
Yeah.
I'm from in Lombok. Study from
okay.
Yogyakarta.
Oh, I see.
Uh-uh.
Pleased to meet you, Robbie.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, Nurin, Maisara. Any questions, guys? Come on, Sabrina.
It was quite lengthy. I think probably lots of specific names, I think.
Are they here or not?
Oh, yes, Sausan.
Hello, good afternoon, Miss and Sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so my question for this one is about the pattern analysis. So, visually, I think when we're determining whether this is a pattern, we have like certain criteria, whether it's like, I don't know, same color or same shape. For that criteria, is that we who decide that, like based on the research question, or is it like, okay, maksudnya kayak, does the pattern needs a certain criteria for it to be called a pattern visual, or is it just this one has the same kind of shape, so we call it pattern, or there's more to that?
Oh, okay. So in symmetry analysis, the pattern is something that is constructed by from similar elements. So pattern here is already specific in the context of study. So we know that pattern is kind of like something that constantly come, or like they come in sequences and stuff, but pattern here in textile study refer to a thing that is constructed by smaller model to create a larger surface design. So that is what is meant by pattern design. So already very specific to the context of the study. Sausan, thank you for your question.
maybe just that to that. So, for example, if we have a bunch of different posters, and let's say there's this repetitive element
Mhm.
in those posters, can we actually use the pattern analysis on those, or is it a different type of analysis then?
Can you boleh diulang pertanyaannya, Sausan? Kalau
Ya,
apa?
jadi kalau misalnya ada berapa poster, like we have like a data of different graphic design posters, and there's this certain element that is repeated or seen in those posters. Can we actually apply pattern analysis on those, or is it a different method of analysis?
I think I can assist in answering that question.
Yeah,
Okay, I
sure.
think Sasan for posters design, again, you have to identify what's the objective, what's the aim of your research? What is it that you want to find out? What is the research question that will guide you to analyze the poster? Are you looking into what are you looking for? You know, for example, are you looking at the semiotic meaning? Are you looking at because pattern it is something that is repeating. You know, so for posters, it's not repeating. And for posters, it's more on a visual context, visual analysis, or visual research. So for visual research, you might need to have, but of course, the basis is the same. You're looking for a theme, you're looking for a meaning behind the visual. But for
Something that is
pattern,
repeating.
yes, it's just that the content is pattern analysis, because pattern analysis, it has a repetition. You know, for posters, unless you are looking at a series of posters. If you're looking at series of posters, then it has a similarity of the pattern. It has a similarity and dissimilarity. So certain aspect has repetition of similarity, maybe the same type of the same style of visual, but in different content. Then maybe you can use the pattern. So it all depends on how you want to do it. But if you are asking on poster in general, it depends. Yes and no.
It
Maybe
depends.
yes, maybe no. Again, it has to be guided by what is the aim that you want to what is the aim of your analysis, and what is the research questions that you want to answer. Because for visual content analysis, like for what Dr. Lira was sharing just now, is more of building up a theme. You know, building up a theme means it's constructive. Okay, so for visual, it can be frequency, it can be repetitive, it can be meaning. It can be developing a meaning, means like what Dr. Lira shared was she is an interpretive analysis. Okay, interpreting the meaning of the pattern. So it all depends. Are you looking for the meaning of your poster? Or are you looking at the usage? Or are you looking at the frequency and whatsoever? So it's very subjective. Again, I hope I answer your question. I hope it helps.
Also,
Yes, thank you, sir.
yeah. Also, to add to Dr. Nizam, also,
Yes.
in the posters, usually there is message,
Yes.
right? And there is the message can kind of like represented in visual. So, for example, you compare poster about COVID. So there might be recurring things in the posters or recurring message represented in visuals, and what kind of visuals are there. And then in that sense, you may be able to use pattern analysis but it is already very contextualized, for example, to the message or to the theme of the poster. So it's not random.
All right. Thank you, Miss Sir.
Thank you, Sosan, for your question.
Yeah.
Is there any more
I think that question helps this
Yes.
the students as well. They
Thank
they
you
know
very
what they
much.
want to
Yes.
ask.
Yeah.
Aduh, anak-anak. Alright, so
Aduh, anak.
okay. What about the rest? Do we have any questions from our side? From my class? Nurin? Nurin, ada soalan? Any question? You're too shy. Or you can type your questions in the chat if you have a question. Any questions from your students, Telkom Uni?
Hello guys, do you have any more question?
Okay, since there's no question, I have a question. I think just in curiosity for the narrative, right? Again, do you identify the narrative, or do you build the narrative, or do you explore?
Actually, I did all.
Because we are not sure of the outcome yet, right?
I did all, like for example, I first I explore existing narrative. So in this kind of like research, it is very important because like you said, we wanted to build theme, and this theme can be used in many different ways after we understood the message, which is cultural narratives, which is cultural identity. And then we can actually process this into different outputs. Like, for example, one of the outputs in my design proposal is to create stories, to create illustration book. And then illustration book with all of the narratives that we found, we cannot create one illustration book. We needed to have series of it. So we explored existing narratives, and then we analyze, is there any more narratives? Do they hold deeper meaning? Do they hold deeper symbolism? Because we could see things, there are things to be seen, there are things to be discovered, but the hidden stuff are way more scattered around all of it. And we need to kind of like sew each story to other story. We need to make relations. And then from there, we identified kind of like collective narratives. Collective narratives mean the narrative that are prominent, are usually talked about when we refer to textile, when we refer to local wisdom, when we refer to their cultural properties. There are certain recurring narratives, prominent narratives, but then there are hidden narratives, things that there are that they are not, that they don't talk, but it exists. Like, for example, the usage, the specific usage of plants, for example. Then the narrative of natural, what is it called? How do we interact with nature? It has become very specific, because then it tells about, for example, one type of flower is being used for what kind of things. So what or how do they chop a tree, for example, or how do they take the root bark of a specific tree to get color, for example. So yeah, we did all of it. I did all of the stuff, from like identifying the existing narratives, to exploring the narratives, to then kind of like deciding, oh, this is the whole holistic narrative that they can have, or that are existing there, but people forget. So that is how the journey of getting the narrative. Yes.
Right. Hey, great. So what was your biggest challenge in the pattern analysis?
Finding people to participate, because this is something that I could not do it by myself. This is something that needs to be participatory, because if I conduct it by myself, I can conduct it by myself, but this will hold subjective decision, right? Whereas this needs to be as objective as possible, meaning that people, all of the people need to relate to this analysis. So finding who can participate is really is the biggest challenge. That, and also finding samples to record.
I think that is being faced by most researchers in most research process,
Yeah.
especially in Southeast Asian nations.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true.
I think for especially when it is related to cultural scope.
Yeah, especially if it's related to ethnographic.
Our people tend to shy away, or they're very timid.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, you're right.
We face that here.
You're
Great.
right.
Great. Nice to hear this sharing.
Thank you so much for the appreciation, Dr. Nizam.
We learn a lot. I learn a lot. I learn a lot.
I learned a lot as well from the previous session. Thank you very much.
I think I can. I think I should pass back the session to
Sena.
Sena, right?
Yeah.
To continue.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ibu Lira and Dr. Sahrul Nizam, for your time today. So I think if there is no more question, I think we can end the class of this session. Is it okay?
Yeah, but before, can we have a photo session?
Yes, of
We
course.
have everyone on the camera.
Yeah, everyone please be on
Yeah.
cam, so that we can take a photo.
Okay.
Shahira,
Everyone, please turn on
there's
your
Christopher.
camera.
Sabrina,
Hello, Christopher.
Rizati, Akil, Aina, everyone.
Oh, ada Hanif. Hello, Hanif.
Everyone. Can we have
Zaidan. Ayo, Iza. Jibril. Mas Hasan.
Rizati ada. Thank you.
Langit.
Wano Sofia, Farah,
Eci, Kandes, Moira,
where is everyone?
Sabrina, Adila,
Amirul,
Vicky,
Sabrina, Akil.
Raja, Benedict, Bejo.
Come on, guys, don't make me call your names.
You are calling names now.
Hurry up, don't waste time. Oh, okay, Shaira is sharing the screen. Okay, it's okay. Where's the rest? Akil, Wano Sofia, Akil, mana Akil, Sabrina, Iman, Amirul, Atira, mana yang lain? Come on.
Okay, I think we can start taking picture.
Okay.
I need more. I need
Okay.
more. I need
Oh,
more.
yeah,
Need
more.
more,
Okay.
need more.
I need more.
So,
I want to make
Oh.
sure they are here.
so
Come on,
guys, please turn on your camera.
please. Sabrina, where's Sabrina? Aina, Farah, Muna, Husna. Hello, hello. Okay. I think most of them are in their dorms, so they were not wearing hijab. Hey, right. So at least this screen is full. All right. Okay, lagi mana lagi? Okay, I think we can take the photo.
Okay. So I will count to 3. So everyone, put your best smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nizam.
Thank you,
so
Dr. Lira,
much.
for time.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much.
Masena.
Please share the photo from the previous session as well,
Yes, yes,
the recording link, so that we can share with the students.
yes. Oh yeah, this is from probably from the international office. Can we also have recordings for both of our sessions and also the screenshots? And then yeah, so we
Yeah,
can
to
all
them.
Yes.
be
We will
informed.
share
Yeah.
the recording.
Yeah, because I need to report it. I need to send the report.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Terima
Sampai
kasih
ketemu lagi.
semuanya. Sampai ketemu lagi, Dr. Nizam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Lira,
Yeah.
can we stay for a short discussion?
Sure.
Thanks. Okay, thank you semua. Assalamualaikum.